Look at me.
Divorce is a widespread epidemic that is affecting our families and especially our children. There are so many families that are becoming ripped apart by divorces. According to 2002 U.S. Census, 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Everyone in my immediate family has suffered or been a part of the hardships that come from divorce. My parents, my sisters, and their children have all experienced the problems that arise from a divorce. My oldest sister just went through a nasty divorce. They both wanted the house, so they fought for about 3 months over it. During the process, the kids had it even harder, being moved from place to place because no one could occupy that house. My other sister also went through a divorce a few months after my oldest sister. She left him, and he has not been supporting their children very well. My father also went through a divorce before he married my mother. Drugs and alcohol were involved in that nasty breakup, so you can only imagine what they went through and what my oldest sister went through. The children in both situations have all reacted differently to the situation. Unfortunately, no one escapes the burden of a divorce, neither children nor adults. Adults are affected by divorce in many ways, mainly emotional, but also in the world around them. Each adult had different emotions and different experiences, but here are a few feelings they might have experienced. They may feel depressed, empty, lonely, lost, hate their ex-spouse, or devoid of all emotion. Adults with children will neglect their own feelings to help their children and make sure their children never see them emotionally distraught. Those adults who do that will be affected more later down the road because they never take care or deal with their feelings now. Adults also feel a burden in their finances due to the lack of income from the split, not to mention that a divorce is very expensive and results in many trips to the courthouse. Adults are not the only parties involved in a divorce. Children are probably the most affected by the change. Divorce is very difficult for adults, so it is obvious that it will be doubly hard on the children, and depending on the age of the children, the outcomes and reactions will vary. Since so many marriages end in divorce, there are millions of children that are exposed to the hardships that come about. In the Everything Parents Guide to Children and Divorce, Picard writes that change creates conflict. So naturally, they will have issues when their parents are no longer together. Not to mention that parents do not tell their children when they are having issues, so it comes as a complete surprise when they split up. Since they do not tell them about their issues until it explodes, some children take it as it is their fault and become depressed and emotionally distraught. Picard also describes how to reassure your children that although some things are changing, some things are staying the same. For instance, their parents' love, their parents' affection, they will have the same school, and they will have the same parents. Children will also show the effects of divorce in their grades at school, in anger and violence, or in self-esteem issues. There are several methods that can be applied in order to save a marriage and the hardships that follow a divorce. First, do not be unequally yoked. In other words, before you get married, make sure your spouse believes in Jesus. Next, do a weekly 5-minute Bible study with your spouse as a relationship devotional. The key to a successful marriage is always to communicate and practice selflessness. If you find your marriage crumbling, I suggest buying the Love There book to repair it. In conclusion, to prevent the trauma of a divorce, we must adhere to biblical principles of a healthy marriage. Always communicate and act unselfishly in day-to-day life. Finally, always think about your decisions and understand that no one is coming out of divorce unscathed.